Man, this game is so grindy. Ah, why are you rubbing this thing constantly? See, there are other things. It's just a grind if you make it so dumb. The fuck are you talking about? It's still grindy no matter which pussy I'm shredding. This one's just happened to be the juiciest. Over the years, covering Elite Dangerous, I've remarked on how grindy the game ends up being. This led me to analyze game design structure of not only Elite, but also other games. As a result, understanding what grind is and what it's being used for, its purpose and effects, ended up being rather interesting. That said, nobody likes a grind, and grinding, they're not exactly a good thing. So when you proclaim a game to be abhorrently grindy, well, the inevitable pushback with comments like, well, it's just a grind if you make it, start spouting up like kebabs in Eastern Europe. So, is grinding gameplay just in our heads and we just need to play differently? Or is grind a manipulative game design tactic through which developers manage to squeeze as much playtime, otherwise known as retention, out of you as possible? Or is it something different? So ask yourself, the game that you played the most time-wise, did you play it so long just because you loved every minute of it so much? Because it had such cool moments and whatnot else? Or was it a grey blur with a few exceptional moments? So, before we delve into the meat and dog shit of the topic, what the fuck is even a grind? And just like that, I'm gonna completely invalidate everything that follows from now on. Unlike, say, pay to win, that I also recently explained and defined, grind and grinding, it's a very nebulous, non-conclusive term, meaning that there is really no definition for this. Thank you for watching the video and to support me on Patreon. Good night. But seriously though, we do need some kind of a common ground and understanding, otherwise... Fuck you, the grind is Karibo in my pants! So, how about this? In video games, grind and grinding often refers to tedious, samey gameplay that you need to, or at least can, repeat a lot in order to progress and achieve something. I think that should serve well for a common ground between us, okay? Okay. Think of leveling up in MMORPGs, or closer to home, grinding credits for buying bigger, better ships, or materials for upgrading their parts like in Elite Dangerous. But what constitutes as grind? Is it killing a boar 100,000 times in World of Warcraft to level up? Or is it killing 1,000 boars? Or maybe 10? Or what about killing more than just one? See, the problem with grinding is not only that it really can't be defined as an action, but also that the amount is dependent on the observer. So, yes, a grindy game could even be something that you do something more than once, if you're extremely nitpicky about it. Still, generally a grindy game is considered one where you, in order to progress, get stronger or advance, you need to repeat the same gameplay over and over quite a few times. Again, how much is that exactly? No one can say. And see, like a hamster on speed, we're going in circles a lot. So let's just stick with the vague, basic notion that grind is somewhere where you need to do something over and over again to advance in some way. But then also a question pops up, is grinding a bad thing? Well, honestly, no, inherently it's not. Take Dark Souls for example. Your character can level up and get stronger. You level up by spending souls dropped by enemies. So grind in this case would be coming from just simply wanting to level up, but every level costs you more and more souls, thus pushing you to go kill either more of the enemies or kill more deadly or harder to reach ones. This grind pushes the player to progress through the game and is actually a very useful tool. But you know what's even better? See, in Dark Souls you don't need to level up to progress. Yes, there have been plenty of speedrunners and skilled players showcasing that you can finish the whole game to progress through all of it without even single time improving your character. In this case, progression does not come from your character's level and grind that goes into gathering all those souls. But it is a really useful tool to make things easier and more achievable for the losers in the crowd who can't get good. See, grind is a good equalizer. Dark Souls perfectly showcases game design principle where you have skillful gameplay, but you can substitute it with grinding, wasting your time killing a few mobs to achieve the same result with easier steps afterwards. In fact, this kind of a principle you can see in MMORPGs. To level up, you can kill, 1,000 boars in a super safe area, or kill one boss once. However, this is where the problems with grind comes in. What if there is no other way to progress in the game except for needing to sit there in a dungeon and kill mobs for hours before you level up, acquire an item, run out of time, or get something, or maybe move forward in the story, or maybe even finish a game? What if repetition of these menial and simple tasks is your only option? No matter how skilled you are, you cannot substitute the grind for a single 360 no-scope kill or something. You do have to kill 500,000 orcs in order for your village to be free or something, unlock a gear or finish the game. This is where grinding becomes bad, becomes very manipulative. Today, more and more games, especially live service games, opt for making grind the only way you can advance in lieu of a skilled gameplay. Then no wonder why you see 1,000 hours in a fucking Final Fantasy XIV, Black Desert, Path of Exile, Elite Dangerous, while games with exemplary and highly designed game balance where skill actually matters, you only see about 100 hours played. And I would like to say that I want to just bite into a big bland chunk and grind from time to time as well. Sadly, the prevalence and the amount of it in our games has only gotten worse and worse. So then we finally come to the Rubicon of enlightenment. Once you understand things, there is no going back. The grind is not optional. Well, okay, it's not optional in majority of today's games, but that's a moot point. Since this rant was started thanks to Elite Dangerous, let's use it as an example. This is a game without an end goal, without an ending, a live service nightmare, if you will. However, bigger, better ships do cost more money, even some require navy progression to unlock, and don't get me started with engineering. A vast majority, if not everything in Elite Dangerous is unlocked through repetition of varied but ultimately samey gameplay, while skill-based unlocks and progression is non-existent. And before you even pipe up, patience and wasting your time is not a skillful activity. If it is to you, you might need to call a nurse to come and change your diaper. There are no two ways about it. The game is extremely grindy, but whenever you say that, out of the bushes pop some senile and lobotomized arguments like, well, go do other missions, try exploration, go do targoids combat. Well, there are so many other things you can do in the game, you don't have to grind. Ah yes, you are correct. In Elite, Warframe, WoW, insert any other game with a lot of grind in it, or at least what people consider it, they usually have more than just a few activities offered. So you can, hold on. Wait, no, what are you even comparing? See, the dipshittery of the "there is no grind unless you make it so" comes from willfully ignorant, intellectually dishonest crowd, the kind of a player that doesn't like to think. So anything questioning the status quo is a bad thing, and you don't like bad things, so that's bad, right? See, whenever somebody uses the excuse of "it's not a grind unless you make it" or "grind is optional," always refers to farming credits, XP, or space dildos in only one way. Possibly the most efficient way, because that's what we always gravitate towards as players. So it is a grind because you just keep doing that one thing. However, the whole "grind is a choice" argument is so close-minded, retarded, and solipsistic that not even for a second the granddad in his pajamas playing spacey game like Elite Dangerous ever realizes, instead of grinding that one or two most efficient farms possible and instead playing the game normally otherwise, sure is gonna be more varied and probably more fun, but also far more painfully slower to progress in. So to give the Care Bears in the audience a more specific example, once I tested how many hours of gameplay would it take me in the fastest way possible to make one spacesuit in Elite Dangerous and upgrade it to the max level. Can you guess how much time did it take me in straight hours? 27! 27 hours of non-stop material gathering in the fastest and thus also the grindiest way possible. It was a nightmare! And guess what? If you were, playing the game the fun way, simply doing a bit of everything, eventually you'd get the spacesuit maxed out as well. Yeah, what? In 40 hours? 100 hours? 500 hours? Can you see what the problem is?
Yeah, but why do you need the best gear even in the first place? You could play Elite with half upgrade and stuff. Heck, even default gear. You whippersnappers are just so entitled.
True, especially for those games that don't really have an ending, as per se. You don't need the best gear, best ship, best anything to play and enjoy majority, if not all of the gameplay. In fact, you don't even need to play the game or get any gear. Hell, you don't even need to start the game and sit there in the main menu. That too can be gameplay, right? Do you see the bottomless hole of idiocity? 'Cause I sure do! And do understand that it's not about the best gear in the first place. Unlike Dark Souls' example, Elite Dangerous doesn't have a typical story or ending progression, so the focal point at that point becomes the player's just accumulation of money, gear, unlocking everything, the typical character progression, if you will. The point about the best spacesuit is that it's a singular tool in your toolbox of so many other things in, for example, Elite Dangerous, but so many other games have the same problem, that basically every bit takes shit gazillion of time and hours to just finish either getting or upgrading, even if you do it halfway through it. See, the grind suddenly doesn't appear when you start min-maxing or maxing out your character stuff. The grind refers to all of it. Be it upgrading your sword to maybe just +2 instead of +15 or something. The grind is still there, and it is very impactful part of the gameplay. And that's the thing, you can't just wish it away with your feelings. It's not what you do, but how much of anything you're asked to do. There, was that clear enough? The pathetic phrase of, well, the grind is a choice, my guy, is used by those who fail to recognize that it's not that there isn't more fun or cool gameplay out there, or that you need the best gear, or that the one complaining about the game being grindy is just a fucking whiny baby who wants everything fast, or that they force themselves into farming the best efficient farming spot. No. It's a statement about the whole game design that's been set up, usually because there is no way to use skill to progress, but you are forced, and yes, forced to do often menial and always repetitive jobs just to advance in a game for not just a few minutes, but often hours if not days or months. And because most of us oftentimes value our time, we gravitate towards the most efficient farming spots. And no amount of happy, willfully ignorant and patronizing, pathetic smirking claiming that, well, there is no grind, my guy. If you just enjoy the gameplay you play, eventually you're gonna get the same gear, right? It won't change the reality that the game, be it Elite Dangerous or any other one that has no skill progression, forces you to grind and are really grindy. The type of idiotic rhetoric I've seen over the years excusing grindy, often wasting time gameplay with feelings is fascinating. Yes, as long as you're feeling happy about the gameplay, right? Then the problems aren't there. Right, guys? Guys? Surely, game developers weren't the ones putting up the economy or the XP rewards, so instead of doing one mission once, you need to do 10 of them ad nauseum, right? No, they surely weren't responsible for that. Something else must be in play, it's just in your head, right? Just learn to love the obvious time-wasting mechanics. So all hail game designers! You know, it's a grind only if you're an idiot who doesn't play the game the fun way, you know, like me, this smug piece of shit. I will fully ignore that instead of, let's say, an hour of your most efficient, repetitive, boring gameplay, I will have to spend 10, maybe 100 hours to reach the same point. I'm a fucking genius who can substitute reality with my fucking feelings. So yeah, rant over. I think it was as clear as possible. The grind is not optional in games that don't have skill progression, and those are far too often far too many. Today, only a few games offer grind as a proper substitute to skill-based gameplay, which should be taking the prime stage. But oh well. See, ultimately, the amount of grind is the problem, as little can be actually even alright. But let's be frank, most game designers aren't really happy with just a little bit. It's a cheap trick in the toolbox of a lazy game developer, but it works, and that's the most manipulative part of it. I guess the message in the end, like with pay-to-win video, is fuck your feelings, mechanics affect us all, and just because you feel good about it or don't see a big problem in it, even if it is a small problem, does not change the reality. It's still there. So, as usual, thanks for watching, and dude, go check out the Patreon if you want to toss me a dead horse or a buck so that I can continue ranting like a madman or something. But most of all, stop spouting retarded nonsense and think for a minute. Hell, maybe come even discuss this stuff on the Discord with me. Well, if I'm awake. But I do love naps. For now though, grind exists in Elite and so many other games. It's manipulative and it should not be ignored or hand-waved away, which is even worse. Especially with some pathetic, positive, dismissive bullshit.